Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to Power for Parkinson's, Powerful People. I am Nina Mosier, the Executive Director and the co-founder, and I am thrilled to have a power duo here with us today, Denise and Bernard Coley. They are the ultimate powerful people. I'm so happy to have you here today and welcome to Powerful People.
Well, Nina,
Um,
thank you for having us. We're always excited about anything that Powerful Parkinson's does. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to, uh, you know, bask in your power light.
And we admire
uh,
you on all of the different things that you do. So thank you very, very much.
sure, sure. Well, I know you two are on the go all the time. You have your hands like so deep into the Parkinson's world, and I'm excited for you to share, the things that you're doing. I was just going to quickly, before we get started, I just want to pop up a slide for our audience to see because you two do so much. I thought it'd be nice for people to just, whoops, it shrunk. There we go. See all the different things that you're involved in. And I know this is just the tip of the iceberg for what both of you, have been up to. So hopefully the people that are on can kind of read through all these things because Denise and Bernard are super advocates for people with Parkinson's. And I got to know the two of you. We first met in person was in Barcelona. And that's, early on, I had already heard about this book, but the PD movers and we keep moving. And you were speaking there, but maybe we can just start off by talking about, what your Parkinson's connection is in a nutshell.
So the PD Movers is about people who are either people with Parkinson's or care partners and their life stories and their lived experiences. And so I have Parkinson's and Bernard is my care partner. And it was just a pleasure to be on with all these different people who have Parkinson's and hear their stories as well. So I'm very excited about that. And then we also have Dr. Shaw and Anita Parker who go into more detail about what the disease is. And so it's been used as an educational tool about the stories of people and what their lives are like.
So I like to tell people that although she got diagnosed in 2018, I became a care partner on the day I lost my independence, July 4th, 1996, when I said I do. And I was handed the most woefully inadequate informed consent document you've ever seen. It's been a while that I have been in this role. I just didn't know the extent of it until Denise received her diagnosis. And I only say that tongue in cheek lightly because it is very important, as you saw from some of the things we're involved in. I do a lot of work around the caregiver and the important role of the caregiver, because especially in underengaged communities, as we like to call them, or marginalized communities, it's the family, it's the care partners who provide most of the support to people with Parkinson's. And so it's an area that we can't overlook. And I don't want to get too heavy about it, but it's just important that we support people with Parkinson's. And by that, I mean the family, because
Right.
there's a person that receives the diagnosis, but really the family and those in their inner circle get the disease.
And that really is a true statement. Once I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I actually went to one of the senior relatives in the family, and she said that I was the third in the maternal line to have Parkinson's. So I went to each of that particular person's family and asked them what they like to hear and what would they like to see. And so I check in with them regularly to make sure I'm on track. And they say, you're giving us more information than our relative had when they were diagnosed.
which segues nicely into how we would really like to kick this off. One of the things that happened when Denise received her diagnosis was for the next 30 minutes, she didn't hear anything but wah, 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 wah. And so there I was, listening to the doctor. And to make this story brief, the longest trek of my life was the trek from the doctor's office to the car in the parking lot. Because all the way there, Denise said, he gave me a death sentence. And I began the argument of life saying, oh, no, he didn't give you a death sentence. He gave you a life-altering sentence. And we went on from there. But the important part that came out of that was that night, Denise committed herself to researching Parkinson's disease and finding out more about it. And literally, I can tell you as the care partner in this, not a night or day goes by that Denise isn't digging into research and finding more information out about Parkinson's. And you might ask, well, why? I mean, when is enough enough? Well, the simple answer is, A, there's no cure for Parkinson's disease and many other brain health disease. But B, when we started looking into this, there was a huge lack of awareness. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of information, I won't say misinformation, information missing. And so we've dedicated our life to raising awareness of Parkinson's, but not just for the sake of somebody knowing they have Parkinson's, but for the sake of educating the medical community, the research community, the community that needs to support people with Parkinson's on what it's all about. And that led to the PD Movers book, which we hold it up again. This is an important model we have of educating the community. And we like to educate the community through storytelling. So we are big proponents of developing the stories of the people whose lives are impacted by Parkinson's to inform and educate the community. And as you can see, this book is available in English and translated Spanish. And we're really excited because one of the things that we wanted to happen is now happening. And that is a whole new book is being developed for and by the Latinx community, for themselves with their stories, their images, etc., because that's the story that needs to be told. And we're excited because we've managed to build lots of bridges to various silos within the research community, the medical community with PD education, etc. And then the exciting part is we get to meet people like Nina, because there's an entire ecosystem of local and smaller organizations who the people in the Parkinson's community, impacted people, feel are very important because they're close and they are focused on our needs and the effort. And that's exciting because we are so glad we got to meet people like the people of Power for Parkinson's, because it's way beyond simply the 50 symptoms of Parkinson's disease. It's really about practical things that we can do to make our lives better every day, like fitness is a medicine. It's a prescription.
Right. Yes.
Would you mind
and
explaining to people why we have these sparkling hats on?
yeah, I was thinking maybe we ought to just take a little pause so everyone can understand why we have our blue sparkly hats on today. Bernard, would you like to share your screen? So we have a short video for you that the Coleys put together. And there's a reason for these blue hats.
Oops.
It begins with a spark. Great movements begin
Let
with
me
the
plug
light.
in for a second. And I somehow managed to shrink the screen, which I didn't intend to do. Sometimes they say you should leave well enough alone. There we go. There we go. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, here we go. Now we'll do it.
Strike of an idea like We need to raise awareness of our Parkinson's disease lived experiences. As the idea progresses, raising awareness of its existence, others join in. Hundreds, then thousands, then millions of little idea sparklets appear. Then they collide with a bang. The explosion sends out a central message. We need to help find a cure. We need to help people with Parkinson's disease live their best lives. A movement galaxy is born. Maybe you cannot cause a landmark like a bridge, City Hall, or a monument to light up in blue, but you can let your little light shine on April 11th, 2025, Worldwide Parkinson's Awareness Day. You can be a sparklet. You can light up a space in your home or office, like a doorway, a staircase, a room, to help raise awareness of Parkinson's disease. You can dress in something blue or drape yourself in blue lights. Then, take a photo of yourself or your group and upload it to www.worldparkinsonsnight.com, where you will become part of the galaxy of those who spark the night for Parkinson's awareness.
That's such a fantastic video you put together. And I love, inviting everyone to become part of this galaxy, to raise awareness. It is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and we have World Parkinson's Day coming up on April 11th. And let's just hope, invite everyone who is watching this to sparkle, become a sparklet, and just make sure, raise your voice. That's our theme at Power for Parkinson's. That's our theme for the month, is to raise your voice. And the more people that learn about Parkinson's, the better off we all will be. So thank you for working so hard to spread the word. And I know you're working with PD Avengers and another group that's big advocates for Parkinson's. So that was, how did you make the video?
So it turns out last year with the Brian Grant Foundation, we were invited to tell stories. So they invited 12 people from the Parkinson's community because they believe in some of the things that we do, which is the experts in the room are the people with Parkinson's and their caregivers and their families. We're the experts. I like to say that the other side has a PhD in medicine, and we have a PhD in the lived experience. And when you put those two things together, that's real power. That's when we started to make greater progress. Fitness as a medicine came about by talking to the patients, and they were saying, but I feel better, much better after I exercise, instead of the old prescription, which was, well, go home, take it easy, sit back in the chair, don't stress yourself. I mean, it's the answer was the total opposite. So it was very important to get the patient voice out. So they invited us to tell our story. And as part of that, they taught us how to do videos. They didn't tell us what to say. They made us write our own story. And then they taught us how to use the tool. And then they really empowered us by saying, oh, by the way, we'll leave the tool open to you for a while. So if you want to do more than the story that we did at that point, you can. And so the opportunity was there. And I always say, if it's patient-led, patient voice-led, you get some unexpected things, but they are beautiful and powerful. And the result was that PSA, we were able to develop and produce that for this program to encourage everyone in the Parkinson's community to let your light shine. You are important. This is your legacy. You know, it's nice waiting on some other people to find a cure, but in the meantime, we have to live.
Yeah. And I think that's a good kind of segue to some of your other work, because you are, and the title of this talk is The Changing Face of Parkinson's. Like, how are we changing the face from the traditional, what once was really thought like the older white man hunched over? What are you doing? Can you I don't know if we want to share a slide yet, or you want to just speak to how you are making some changes? Because I feel like the two of you have made some dramatic changes.
Well, the first thing is, when I first was diagnosed, there's very little data that I like to see coming from a corporate environment. So there were lots of gaps. And so I found out that in 2020, 2022, Dr. Michael Oken and Dr. Armstrong updated that illustration. It's very diverse. It shows the different stages. It shows men and women, young onset to elderly. And that is a big change. The other thing that happened was that Bernard and I decided that we were going to do a lot in reaching our community, because as he said in the doctor's office, he gave me a death sentence because I spent my whole life building up people around the world so they can have economic vitality. So now here I am in the health research area trying to figure out how I could do the same thing. And therefore, that's why when we went home, it took a few months for me to get my gaze set on what we're going to do and invite Bernard to join Team Coley. So and really create some work around the community, going to the community, talking to the medical professionals, going to the institutions, and going to the pharma companies, so that they realize that there's a big gap, and that puts us at higher risk of not being diagnosed. And the thing about being diagnosed late, you're more symptomatic and you're further along. So bringing awareness, empowering the underengaged communities, then we can help that. So when we took our first course on working with Parkinson patients, researchers, we decided that was the area we're going to look at. And so I came up with a statement that my goal was to become an advocate on education, resources, research, and awareness, and empower those who have that knowledge to advocate for themselves and others. And so that led us down the road to all of the different projects that I have been involved with. And Bernard will tell a little bit about health equity.
So the first thing was, I have a bad habit of trying to be pragmatic, and it is a bad habit. It gets you into a lot of trouble because you ask people things like, okay, so you want to raise awareness, and dumb me, I say, for what? And then you get the blank stare. Okay, so it's like, okay, you want to open up a fitness shop, and then I say, for what? So as you can see, I get entangled, but the point is that you need purpose, you need intent. And so we looked around and started realizing that there were lots of gaps. That number one, even with the materials that were being developed, and they're excellent materials being developed by many of the organizations in Parkinson's, problem was they weren't reaching everybody. In fact, they weren't reaching the majority of people. So there was all of these communities left out, be it rural or ethnically. But anyway, there's just too many. And even in areas where there were large concentrations, there were deserts of people who weren't being reached. And we said, well, that's not right. So we started to look at what, instead of just raising awareness, what is it that's going on that's causing this? And then we started to develop solutions. So let's start with the simple one. The PD Movers book is stories of 12 members of the Black community, Black and Afro-American community in the United States, that have Parkinson's. And it was because when we went in, there were two universal things that were happening. The first is everybody we talked to was telling the same story about being late diagnosed. And when we say late, meaning that they had even the symptoms that are used to clinically diagnose Parkinson's, but the doctors didn't believe they had Parkinson's because they didn't look like the patients that the doctors were trained on as having Parkinson's. So women, even though they're at least, and I say this, at least 40% of the population. There's some debate about no, I don't debate. Parkinson's is the most underdiagnosed disease I'm aware of. Okay. So at least 40% of women, and women were telling us the same story. They didn't believe I had Parkinson's. They didn't believe I had Parkinson's until it like knocked them over the head and they said, oh, I guess you have Parkinson's. Imagine being a Black woman. Blacks don't get Parkinson's. Women don't get Parkinson's. So we realized that Denise had significant symptoms at least 13 years before she received her diagnosis. So what happens in that time period? Late diagnosis is a major problem in underengaged communities, as we like to call them, because you progress and you're not doing the things like working out, exercising. You're not taking the medications, things that slow the progression of the disease. So there's disparities there, generally unintended disparities.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a grandchildren. So, we also have real life. Yeah. Parkinson's doesn't take you out of the rest of your life. So so we started looking for what we could do. So one of the things we decided to do was to pick one of the columns of all of these challenges and started to work on the elephant in the room by taking it one bite at a time. And so the first bite we took was our own community, because there were clearly gaps in the materials reaching the community, whether they were across the street from the very foundation that was creating the material or across the street from the medical clinic, it still wasn't reaching the community. So the book was developed as a way that we understood from our prior careers to reach the community. First, representation matters. Change the face of Parkinson's, as you mentioned. So we developed three things: the book. We developed a Parkinson's disease quilt, a Black Parkinson's disease quilt, in which all the faces on it are people who have Parkinson's disease or their caregivers.
It's digital.
Families. And then we added an important next step, because we were kind of shocked to find this out. We started showing, adding pictures of researchers who were researching in the Parkinson's community. And doctors didn't even know there were Black researchers. How about therapists? We talk about the family, the groups of people that you need in your care group. Okay. And it turns out people are saying, well, I don't go to an occupational therapist because they don't really understand me. They may ask me to do things that I can't do them out. Well, so we added the Black therapists and social workers. And more important, we added the Black MDSs, the movement disorder specialists. Because there were people, we've said there's a reason a lot of people don't come to your webinars, your trainings, your events, your activities, your center, because they're not comfortable. They don't trust you for a lot of reasons, but they're not comfortable. They don't see anybody there that looks like them. So that leads to our second pillar, which was over and over again, we heard from people in the various communities, nobody looks like me. And the experience we had when we started the PD Movers initiative was the most important thing was that first day when we were brought together. There were 20 panels on the Zoom window, and I don't think most of us heard much of what Dr. Shaw said the first 15 minutes, because we were all in tears. We had never seen that many Black people with Parkinson's disease at one time.
But on Zoom.
And there we were in the
Yeah.
winter, and we were in tears because, oh, I'm not alone. This is
Yeah.
not me by myself, because that is a prevalent feeling that people had. So we've worked on, when we talk about changing the face, part of it is exposing the medical community to the fact that there are people that look like Denise and others that have Parkinson's disease. They're making this up. They're not odd. There's a lot of them. You weren't trained that way, so we get it. So now we want to let you know they're there to train our community, that there are people that look like them who are working on the solution, who are providing advice, who they can trust and get there. And then we wrap that around the technical education that was already available. And the rest was history. Lightning struck. PD Mover's book is exciting. It's now, we're turning it into a series. There are going to be more. And then we just sort of took our advocacy to the next step, which was, okay, so let's address some of these problems that are preventing people from taking advantage of wonderful solutions and treatments that are out there, like attending Nick's class. Okay.
Yeah.
What can we do to change that? So we founded a group called Special Interest Group Black Diaspora. We decided not to take on the whole elephant at once, just focus on the Black diaspora and help take those challenges, experiences up, uplift them, and get it. And it turns out we've always believed that if you try to solve that problem, you'll solve it for a lot of marginalized communities, unengaged groups. The 14th, 15th, 16th Amendment is an example. You free the Blacks, and women got the right to vote years later. Okay. It was very important. Those things tie together. So that's what we've gone after. And then we are not just a silo of Black problems, by the way. So as you saw on our list, another element in this challenge for the Parkinson's community was getting the patient voice in the right places. What can I say? That's another big issue. Listening to the patients, finding out what they can tell you. So we advocate for patient inclusion all along the spectrum of clinical research, not just participation, but along the development of what to study, the setting of the priorities, the design of the protocols, the design of treatment plans.
And why it's important.
And why it's important. And something as simple as helping a dance group increase the population of their dance group to match their diverse community simply by choosing to play a more diverse set of music to dance to. Yeah.
So how do you think, so you've been, first of all, I just, again, want to commend you because since we've met and since I discovered your book, we've taken both of these, the Spanish and English, to many health fairs. And I can't tell people, the feedback we've gotten has been tremendous. They just couldn't believe it. So they're just so impressed, not only by the material, but of course the illustrations and just seeing just a whole different side of Parkinson's, seeing the Black community, seeing different faces. So I just think that was a genius way to approach this situation. And, I've watched you now for a couple of years. I know like your impact is very deep and you've worked so hard, going to so many conferences and meeting with so many people. What do you think, I know you've been working on encouraging people to get involved in clinical trials. Can you speak to that? Like, what could people that are watching today, how might they want to, why would they want to get involved and how could they go about it?
For clinical trials is very important. And I always tell people, if we're not included in the research, therefore we don't know whether or not the medication will work effectively on us. And the second part is participate in the gene studies like PD gene generation, because we need to have a wider base of participants, because we might have a gene that has not been discovered. It was 2 years ago that the African ancestry gene was discovered, and this disease was discovered in 1880. So that's a long gaps of time. So we need to really load it up. So after I meet with a group, I tell them first, are you taking meds? Usually the answer is yes. Do we know whether or not the meds work well with us? Some people had to try
Titrate.
the drugs, because you can't take it as quickly as possible because it wasn't tested on us, or you had to break it in half or something of that nature. So that's a good reason to do it. So what I decided to do was, once we were certified to work with researchers, I made a pledge to myself that I would try almost everything that comes out in a certain category so that I can tell people about it. So I started off with surveys. That was a nice, easy way to do it. Getting onto councils with the different companies, making sure that I also got into wearables. Those are what I call non-invasive type of things. And then I had to hit the wall of what was going to hold me back. So what was going to hit me on the back and make me hesitate for a significant period of time was, I don't like needles. Definitely not like needles. Blood work, I'm ready. I locked myself in a room one time so they wouldn't take my blood, but that didn't work either. So I finally decided I needed to go into what I consider non-invasive type of therapies. And that made all the difference in the world, because then I can talk about what to do, what to expect, making sure that the researcher and the team know the symptoms of Parkinson's. And when you're going in, that you don't have to spend time teaching somebody, well, I might move in the MRI, or I bruise easily, or I don't like needles, or it has to be on this side versus this side because I'm one-sided. And I tell people that. I also tell people, when you go, make sure you ask lots of questions, because most of the time I wasn't asking questions. Well, if you don't ask questions, you don't know what the boundaries are, what the risks and challenges are that you're willing to live with, and what benefit it's going to get to you. And then ask on a repeated basis, because sometimes as new people come in, they might change a few rules. So you want to make sure you're aware of the rules and know that you can stop at any time. So it really was effective, because when people ask me about things, I can give them the full spectrum of the different things that might come up in the different areas, from surveys to what I call invasive, so that they have the knowledge. And also talking to the care partners, because we have gone through the care partner part. They're not always ready for the care partner. A care partner might come and they might say, well, maybe sit in this little tiny lobby and we'll give you a glass of water for 2 to 3 hours. Or they'll tell you to go someplace else, but they had to consider it. And here in California, especially, if you tell me I have a 9 o'clock appointment, that's better, 9 o'clock appointment, I might leave my house between 6 and 7 to make that 9 o'clock appointment. Then you have to worry about some places charge for parking and don't maybe have disabled parking. So you have to talk to somebody who has a wealth of information, because they have tried so many things and hit the wall, so that that next person coming in doesn't do it. So that's been my journey in research.
So as you've been doing this, are you part of a group, or is there a way people would connect with yourselves, or how are you spreading your word, or how could somebody who is interested in learning more, how would they connect? And
So we have several avenues. We only mentioned a couple. So one is, if you are a member of the Black and Afro-American community, you are welcome to any of the special interest group Black diaspora events, activities. And every year now we host a summit in February during Black History Month. 4 sessions in which we look at the Parkinson's challenges through the eyes and through the perspective of the Black community. And we spread it out. We have some Africans attending and things like that. We are also members of a number of patient councils. And for those, you can apply to get on those councils. You can also let us know groups like the Parkinson's Foundation, Michael J. Fox, they are PMD Alliance. I mean, there are lots of groups. and they're all interested in getting people onto these councils, and the various pharmaceutical companies, etc., notify them when they have openings. And so you can let them know of your interest. You can go. I would recommend, however, that you attend one or more of the patient councils, a patient academy, excuse me, before you do it. And I'm currently serving on a panel working on developing some standards and guidelines for those councils so that we make sure that you are properly, or adequately is probably the better word, prepared to be on those councils. Because some people get on the councils, for example, and they got on because they wanted to learn more about Parkinson's disease.
Or how it could help them.
Or some therapy. We said, you go to therapy, you can connect with clinicaltrials.gov and see if you can find it. But you don't get on a council to figure that out. On the council, we want your voice talking about how this reaches in, how this will impact. Excuse me one quick second.
Yeah.
I have to finish this and then I'll go get you. Left your food on the table, sweetie.
Okay, can I look at Kelly's in my door?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. That's
An
okay.
important part of what just happened, by the way, that's the life of a Parkinson's impacted family. Parkinson's doesn't sit there and fit in a nice silo. It just tries to take over your life. And an important message that we have brought in our advocacy is that point, because I like to say that the researchers, for example, want the perfect little white mouse. That's what they want. And over and over again, we have to go to them and say, no, hold on just a second. You have to breed those, and that's, it's not the Parkinson's population. We have comorbidities, we have lives, we have things going on. You can't find the perfect participant, in large quantities, because we don't exist. We exist in the real world, and you need to take that in consideration. And that, by the way, is part of our advocacy to explain that to them.
And spring break.
And look at what's going on in our lives. Denise made a little joke, and the reason why it's a joke is because she said, the care partner comes and they have nothing to do with you for 2 or 3 hours. No, that's wrong. It was 6 hours, and they forgot about bringing the water to me until 3 hours in, and then it was only because the researcher was running by because somebody else who was supposed to be there wasn't there. And he goes, oh, I forgot your water. Well, let me tell you, many Parkinson's patients can't drive themselves to a clinical trial. Many Parkinson's patients need support. And they can't just, sure, you can send them a bus token, but they can't just jump on the bus and go across town and go to the clinic and spend their day and all these other kind of things. So there's at least one other person that's involved in your clinical trial, even though you're not taking their blood or taking their blood. And if you want to know why they drop out, it's because they can't do this 3 or 4 times in a year. Because they're working, they have to, so all these other things that you kind of go, oh, as soon as you hear it, you go, oh, that's obvious. Well, it's not obvious in the design process. So part of our advocacy is raising awareness of that, changing the questions that are asked from, are you willing to do this if I tell you that all we're going to do is take your blood 3 or 4 times? Wait, that's not the question. The question is, in addition to those, can you take out 6 or 8 hours in a day or more to do 2 hours worth of testing?
Especially if you're working.
And this is an actual argument I had in a clinical trial. I have to pass many hospitals and medical centers with MRIs because I have to have my MRI done with the center that they have the contract with, which just happens to be 2 hours past the medical center where the trial is connected. So for us to attend a 40-minute MRI session, we have to leave at 6 in the morning, past the center, to get up to a midday MRI, followed by the return. So they said, this is going to take 45 minutes. And I said, no, this is going to take 11 hours. And they said, no, it's going to take 40 minutes. And I said, no, it's 11. And we actually had a discussion, which kind of, well, it didn't get heated, but it got close because I'm arguing that every number that they had was wrong. And then
Yeah.
we finally got to, I'm claustrophobic. So for me to do an MRI anyway, I have to go on medication. And so add to everything else, and Denise can't drive that long. First off, she shouldn't be driving anyway, but she can't drive that long. So my Parkinson's partner cannot support me
Drive you. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
drive. So and I can't drive either if I'm doped up, to be able to go in the MRI. So I'm like saying, these are the things you need to understand about the impact of the protocol you design, which, by the way, if you had had a patient panel, they'd have told you that.
And also MRIs, not all MRIs can you take medicine unless they have a doctor call.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. Yeah. So there's, well, I think that's really good advice for people if they have the capacity to join a patient council is amazing. And accessibility is so important for, well, anyone doing a study, but especially with Parkinson's, where it's hard to travel, you're on a schedule, you have to take your medication. So there's a lot of barriers that would have to be overcome to even get that data. So,
if people
I think
are feeling like they don't have much to say, and they're thinking about it only in medical terms, they're missing the point. It's way more than medicine. It's your life.
Yeah.
And well-intended people trying to find treatments and cures don't know your life because your life isn't taught in the classroom. So even part of our advocacy now is to get more Parkinson's patients to be part of presenting to doctors in training, physicians in training, and also to be part of the conversation of encouraging people to go over to do Parkinson's research because they're struggling to get, researchers and doctors, physicians in training to go over. Well, let us talk to them. And they love it when we talk to them. But that had been part of the standard process before. And we're not taking credit. We didn't do it all ourselves. There's a lot of people out there doing it. But getting out there and getting those voices into places that you might not think of as part of the research process is absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical.
Well, I think what you're doing, you are leading the way. You have the resources, you've made the connections, you're doing a lot of work. And obviously 2 people can't do it all. And the people, you just need more and more people to, get on the bus and keep doing the work when they can. And I get that. And we try that at Power for Parkinson's also to just keep reaching more people, more underserved communities. We're making a lot of inroads now with the Spanish community. We have 2 new employees who speak Spanish and have, now can help us with those connections. So we have an official Spanish class here in Austin, Texas, and we have an official Spanish channel on YouTube. So we are, really serving that community much more than we ever were able to. But it takes a lot of effort. And, step by step, hopefully all of us keep pushing the envelope. And, this month, we do it there should be Parkinson's awareness all the time, but this is a special time where we can really, promote the ideas and hopefully ignite the spark in people to even mention to their friends or their families or their doctors or their dentist or their whoever, just give them a little insight as to what it is that Parkinson's is.
And
some of
that's
the things
important because stigma is one of our greatest barriers. And stigma goes both ways. The stigma of you not wanting to let people know you have Parkinson's because they don't understand it. So you're worried about how they're going to react. Well, if we don't expose Parkinson's, they're going to continue to react that way. We already know what silence brings. Okay, so let's work on putting a little light on the issue. And every one of us can do a little bit. And together, that will create the change that's necessary. And I want to highlight this again, something you said, because it's really critical. And I'm not just doing this because we're on your program, Nina, but it does take work. One of our greatest challenges is explaining to an organization or a group what they need to do, and them going, well, I don't have time for that. Well, that's how we got here. Okay. And it wouldn't be a big problem, except that you're trying to do it all at once. You do a little bit. You take the elephant and you take it one bite at a time. And if all of us take a little bite, we're in good shape. We can't fix every one of the problems in every one of the silos, but we can prioritize and pick some that we can manage. And so I commend your group, because I can remember our first conversation, and the intent is there, the goodwill is there, but what's missing in a lot of cases, and I commend you, is the commitment to stick it out to get it done. And the rewards are great when you do it. And so that's critical, what you said. You got to be willing to put the time and effort in to do this. Relationships aren't built in a snap. They take. And what I always try to explain to people is an important rule: connection before content. Stop telling everybody what you do and all the wonderful things you have when you don't have a connection, because it's not going to work. You have to invest the time. And, what Powerful Parkinsons did was they put in the time to find people who could build the bridges, to invest in those people and encourage them, to stick with them, because it's always tough at the beginning, but see it through, and then then it starts to blossom. And then you can tell them all the wonderful things and all the wonderful fitness programs that you have.
Yeah, and I think it goes into tips, just like when we were practicing at this conference with the ball. That is the perfect thing to tell everybody. If you do this every day, it will help. Same thing if you go to an MRI. If you are a person who has tremors, tell them, and they'll give you a weighted blanket. Not everyone knows that. So if everyone gives in at least one tip in some area, it will help somebody behind them as they progress through the disease.
Yeah, that's a great tips for you, I think.
And the last thing I'll say, by the way, in this area, help the support groups. Okay. What we found out anecdotally, because we haven't conducted a worldwide study yet, but it's pretty solid from the standpoint of the community, is many people learn a lot of things about Parkinson's at their support groups.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they trust their peers. Okay. It's not the lady in the white coat that came and talked about the medical reasons. It was, they turn to their peers and they go, I'm having this little problem over here. What do you all do for it? They trust their peers. So if you support your support groups, okay, you will be helping the community a lot, because that's their chosen path for learning a lot.
And doing together.
And doing it together.
Yeah, well, that means so much. And the support groups are so helpful. We hold support groups once a month and in person. And I know everyone always feels, so empowered once they're together. And we divide our groups. We've been fortunate because we have a collaboration with the UT School of Social Work. So we have the master's students working with us. And so we have the women are together and the men with Parkinson's, and then we have a caregivers group. And, everyone has, they feel like they have a place. And it's been, I think, really, really helpful. to people. So again, anyone watching, I encourage you, if you're not in a support group, if there is one in your area, look into that. The PMD Alliance often has a lot of great recommendations and resources. So they're for support groups. And we can always try to help to find them. Well, I think we're getting towards the end of the hour, and I'm not sure. Zoe, was there anything? Let's see. Oh, well, we heard from Carolyn. She said, "Thank you for the sparkle. Your sparkles." So, oh, you're welcome. So I hope everyone remembers on Friday night to take some pictures, wear blue, send some pictures. And what is that website again? Where do we want to, or the email to send?
www.worldparkinsonsnight.com. And it'll be up all month, by the way. So if you don't get your picture up on the 11th, don't worry about it. Just take your pictures all month and uplift them. And we're going to get that digital mural in the right place.
All right.
Get it seen by many.
Well, I love it. And I can't thank you enough for all the inspirational work that the two of you do. You inspire me every single time I talk to you. And I'm grateful for everything that you're doing. And I know the community is as well. So thanks for joining today.
You.
And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And if not, for sure, May 2026 at the World Parkinson's Congress in Phoenix, Arizona. Get that on your list.
Absolutely. I will see you there. Okay.